What's up everyone, it's Bones here. In today's video, I'll be featuring a Trickstar deck that I thought got a decent buff through this ban list, and you've probably seen I've been doing a bunch of Shifter and Macrocosmos videos since the ban list came out, but it's kind of because I don't want to flood my channel with a bunch of Ishizu tier. But anyways, before I begin, if you happen to enjoy content like this, clicking on those thumbs up and subscribe buttons would be greatly appreciated, as it goes a long way in supporting the channel and shows me that you like content like this. So to begin, you're gonna see that unlike my weather painter video, if you happen to watch that, I'm not going to shotgun the Shifter as we're in the main phase now. In the weather painter video, I mentioned that if you know what you're playing against, you could pass priority to your opponent and see if they drop the Shifter instead. But now I want to drop the Shifter at the point that you may want to respond to an activation of a card so that it doesn't hit the graveyard, in order to bring some more realness to these videos, as I know that the walkthroughs are just videos of myself going first and second with the same hands to show what a deck can do in a more hand-holdy type of way. So as you'll see, we're going to drop the Shifter now. It is the main phase. In this particular scenario, it is going to punish the going second player. Because of the hand that they have, it's not going to hurt too much, as we're going to rip apart the Prosperity just to keep the deck at its engine cards. And from here we're going to activate our own late stage, and now we can search a copy of Licorice, normal summon Candina, and what you're trying to accomplish here is just sheer damage, as you want to put your opponent on a clock as early as possible. So we're going to bring out the two Licorice by using their effects and returning the Candina to hand, setting the Reincarnation, and then passing to the opponent. And from here we'll see a draw of Dimensional Fissure, as we're going to get the burns here for 800, as we have the light stage and the two Licorices. And then from here we can activate a light stage, then add a copy of Licorice, and from here we'll inflict 800 more damage, and then we'll also use the Reincarnation in order to banish their hand and inflict even more damage to not only take away their resources but keep putting them on a bigger timer, as we're now going to see the burns here for 2000, I believe it was, and we'll activate the Terraforming, getting another addition which will cause more life point burning. And this is the one thing about Trickstars that will always be good, is just the ability to one card engine through Terraforming, light stage. And I want to point out here that the Bystial engine also helps this deck, as they are light monsters and it does give them big bodies, which is something that Trickstars have never had. And you'll see that I'm also playing the Necro Valley and the Dimension Fissure. This is just meant to be a hate deck towards Ishizu tiers based on the format that we're in. This also messes up a lot of graveyard reliant strategies that may come around over time, but we're going to see that we're going to inflict even more damage through the Licorice and the light stage, as now we're going to see a special summon of Magnemite here, which is another cool thing that you can banish your Shifter. Set up yourself for the activation of another Shifter if you do have one, and we'll get the effect of Magna Hut. And now we can just attack over the two Licorice, as they're only 1600 attack. And I show this because this is just one of the downsides of playing the deck that is still very real, but you'll see that this deck can also be very scary, especially if it's not the mirror match. So we'll see that we're going to get another Licorice on board, or the first of the opponents, and we're going to attack with that, getting in for 1800 more with the light stage damage. And now we can activate the D-Fissure as you would in any other particular matchup, along with the Necro Valley, which is why I'm doing it. And from here we'll get the addition of Druis Worm off the Magna Hut, and now we can go to turn 3 here, as we'll draw a Dimension Fissure, and we'll normal summon the Candina now, as the Candina will get us a search. We'll get the Lily Bell, and again, at this point you just want to be able to inflict as much damage as possible. You'll see that we aren't able to go for game here, but I would like to point out that if Dimensional Fissure was a Bystial monster, another Trickstar Reincarnation, or even a light stage for that matter, then this would have been game. Instead, what's going to happen here is that we have to attack into our opponent's Licorice. We'll allow them to live here, as they're going to end the turn on 600 life points left, which is why I mentioned what I mentioned about what you could have done if it wasn't Dimensional Fissure that you drew. But we'll go into the Lina here, and this is just to get you another search. You have to keep in mind that playing Dark and Lina in this deck allow you to search for either the Bystial cards or the Trickstar cards, or even Dimensional Shifter, which is kind of nice, outside of their most common use, to revive an opponent's monster of the same attribute. So from here we're going to normal summon the Cantina, get its effect, get the light stage search, and from here we can get the addition of a Licorice, go into the battle phase, attack with the Magna Hut, which will inflict 650, we'll get a search here, which will get us a Cantina, and then the Cantina will attack for 1800, inflict 200 more through light stage, use the Licorice to return it to hand, then special summon the Licorice, go in for 1800 more with the light stage, and now as our opponent draws, or as we draw, we're going to lose 200 damage thanks to Licorice, along with 200 more off of light stage while we only have 50 life points remaining. Just like that, there's been enough damage output to go for game. So onto the deck profile, and instead of going the more traditional route with the scapegoats and stuff, I think playing Prosperity with a bunch of going second cards is the better way to go. Increase the consistency while also hard countering a lot of what can't beat the Bystial stuff or Shifter. If there's one criticism around Trickstar, it's always been their damage output. Now with the Bystial stuff and the blowout cards that you have through Fissure and Shifter, with the ability to have 3 Metaverse to get you into either your light stages or one of your Floodgate field spells, can help put in the rest of the work that the Trickstar monsters on their own may not be able to accomplish. That being said, I still would temper the competitive viability of this, because as you saw in that replay, there is still some rough patches the deck has without being able to end on anything on board that's quite game-winning on its own, like a Dweller, or just the fact that the deck really lacks its own boss monsters. With all of that out of the way, to go over the card by card, we have the 3 Candinas, the 3 Licorice, the 1 Bell, the 3 Shifter, the 3 Light Stage, the 3 Metaverse, the 1 Terraforming, the 3 Fissure, the 3 Reincarnation, the 3 Magna Huts, the 1 Saronir, the 3 Druis Worm, the 3 Prosperities, the 3 Talents, the 1 Set Rotation, the 1 Summon Breaker, and the 2 Necro Valleys to round out the main deck. To the extra deck, we have the 1 Underworld Goddess, Borreload for the Avermax, and then we have Access Code, Nightmare Unicorn, Nightmare Phoenix, Sprite Elf because of Lilybell. It's just an alternate way to get into your Nightmare Unicorn if for whatever reason you can't get into the Charmers. Lilybell is a level 2 that you can just revive back. And then we have Lina, Dark, Masquerena, the Dagger for Hire, Breaksword, the Baguska, the Abyss Dweller, the Wallow, and the Zeus to round out the profile. Now onto the options that you have here. You do have the Drolls for the Droll and Reincarnation lock. I do think that this would be better come Kashtira format if Kashtira Tearlament isn't the deck to dominate. We see a more pure version here in the TCG. That's still something we don't know yet, and I bring up evenly because just like Lightning Storm, whatever you side in or choose to main deck, you want it to be a blowout. And then lastly, I want to talk about Secret Village, which you can technically side 1 Necro Valley and then put the Secret Village in, and then through having 1 Bystial monster and 1 Trickstar monster on field, you can go into either one of your Charmers, get yourself a Spellcaster, and lock out a Runic deck, for example. But anyways, that's all for today's video, and if you made it this far, I'd like to thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed. If you have any suggestions, feel free to leave them down below. Bones, signing out.